Hello, this is my audience. I am here today to present a toast to my son Matthew, who inspires me as a person. 22 years ago, I was a scared new mother. The only experience I had taking care of babies came from babysitting my niece and nephews. I had this tiny person and I had to take care of their every need. It was overwhelming. Each day began early. My son Matthew would wake up about 4 a.m. crying, either from a wet diaper or being hungry. And I went about every day taking care of him and learning what being a mom was all about. As he grew into a toddler, it didn't take long for him to show how curious he was about his surroundings. I constantly had to watch him because he would crawl, climb, and touch everything he could put his hands on. He definitely kept me busy. I can remember when it was time for Matthew to start school. I don't know who was more nervous, him or me. He cried when I walked away and left him in the room with his teacher and called for me as I disappeared down the hall. It made me feel bad the whole day. When I picked him up from school that day, he hugged me so tight and said, "Mommy, I missed you." Made me feel so loved. He did this every day for about a week, and then after that, he was used to going to school and didn't seem to miss me as much while I was there. Matthew took on a different role when he became a big brother to my son James. He was 7 years old at this time, and it really changed his perception of life in our household. He loved his brother, and to this day, he looks out for him. One day, riding in the car, Matthew was sitting in the back seat next to James in his car seat, and Matthew had an army set of little green plastic men and was playing with them, loudly screaming out, "Ah!" He would make crash noises and bomb sounds, pretending the little army men were fighting in a battle. It was amazing to me how into this little game he was. He told me later on that he wanted to grow up and be a soldier. In high school, Matthew was involved in typical teenage behavior, hanging out with his friends and dating, but it was then that he really developed into a mindset ready to leave home for the military. He talked to the recruiters when they came to the school and started the ball rolling going into the Army after graduation. I was not surprised by his decision and encouraged him to go for it. Matthew graduated high school and went into the Army directly after, and from then it was complete silence for a few weeks as he was in training. He was allowed to write letters, which were so heart-wrenching to read because he was homesick and missed me and his family and friends. And I was so sick with heartache with not being able to talk to my son. It seemed like an eternity before his boot camp graduation would come. When it finally did, we were allowed to come and visit and watch the graduation at base. It was the first time I had seen him in 3 months. When I saw him, our eyes locked. He smiled from ear to ear, and I hugged him tighter than I ever had before. I hardly recognized him. He was so thin. He lost 30 pounds, and it made me panic. I began to get upset and cry, and he talked to me calmly to ease my nerves. I realized at this moment my son had grown into a nice young man, one that had dreams and goals and was doing all he could do to pursue them. I was so proud. I've told you all of these things about my son because he is the person I admire the most. He has done things already in his young life that at his age I did not have the courage to do. I know that his journey in life will be lived with purpose, and I hope one day he is as proud of me as I am of him. Thank you, son, for being born and for being the amazing person you are. Thank you.